The telephone shattered the silence. John jolted upright in bed, heart pounding. 2:07 a.m. Who could be calling at this hour? He fumbled for the receiver. Hello? His voice was thick with sleep. A voice, raspy and thin, answered. John, it's you. It's me. Don't trust. The line went dead. John sat there, phone pressed against his ear, a chill crawling up his spine. The voice. It sounded like his own, but older, wearier, laced with a terror that chilled him to the bone. The next call came 2 nights later. Same time, same raspy voice. John, this is your future self. Listen carefully. A disaster is coming. You need to leave the city. Who is this? John whispered, fear tightening its grip. What are you talking about? No time to explain, the voice rasped, urgency bleeding into every word. Just trust me. Leave the city. Now. John hung up, his mind a whirlwind of confusion and fear. The caller's words, laced with desperation, echoed in the silence of his apartment. Was he going mad? The calls became a nightly torment. Each night at precisely 2:07 a.m. the phone would ring, the chilling voice painting vivid pictures of a future consumed by chaos. Fires raged, buildings crumbled, and screams filled the air. It's a vision, John. A premonition, the voice pleaded. A massive earthquake. It's going to level the city. You have to warn everyone. John's life became a waking nightmare. Haunted by the visions and the voice, he couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Was he losing his mind, or was this a terrifying glimpse into the future? He tried to tell his friends, his colleagues, but they dismissed it as stress or insomnia. Who could blame them? A man claiming to receive calls from his future self, warning of an earthquake? It sounded ludicrous even to him. John, you're working too hard, his friend Mark said, concern etched on his face. You need a break. But John knew what he was hearing. The voice, the urgency, the chilling details of the impending disaster. It felt all too real. The weight of their disbelief was almost as heavy as the burden of his secret. The calls became more desperate, the warnings more urgent. Time is running out, John, the voice pleaded. You have to act now.
Driven by a desperate hope to change the course of events, John decided to take action. He withdrew all his savings, rented a cabin in the mountains, far from the city. He would wait, watch, and pray that he was wrong. He couldn't convince others, but he could save himself, or so he thought.
Days turned into weeks. The phone calls ceased. I was left alone with my thoughts, haunted by the visions of the future I dreaded. Was I safe? Had I averted the disaster by simply leaving, or had my actions set in motion a chain of events I couldn't even begin to comprehend? The isolation was agonizing. I was a prisoner of my own knowledge, forever teetering on the precipice of dread. I couldn't escape the feeling that I was living on borrowed time. One night the phone rang. It was 2:07 a.m. My blood ran cold. The voice, weaker this time, filled with a chilling resignation. You didn't listen, John. It's too late. My heart pounded in my chest. I was miles away, safe in my mountain cabin. I had escaped the disaster. But then, a horrifying thought struck me. The voice hadn't said the city. I had assumed. What happened? I choked out, my voice trembling. It was the cabin, John, the voice whispered, fading into static. The earthquake, it's happening, here. The earth began to tremble. A low rumble grew into a deafening roar. The cabin shook violently, walls groaning under the unimaginable force. I was thrown to the floor, my eyes wide with terror as the world around me began to crumble. I had been so focused on escaping one disaster that I had walked blindly into another. The chilling realization struck me. I hadn't outsmarted fate, I had played right into its hands. I closed my eyes, bracing for the end. But the end never came. When the dust settled and the earth was still, I found myself lying amidst the wreckage of the cabin, miraculously unharmed. I had survived. But as I stumbled out into the cold night air, a chilling thought echoed in the silence. I had received calls from my future self, warnings that had led me to this desolate mountain, to this very moment. Had I changed the future? Or had I, in my desperate attempt to cheat fate, fulfilled it?